before I cross-examine Dr. King, I would like to just comment on the value of the work that CaPRI is doing. And I will preface my comment by making reference to a recent newspaper article captioned "Lies, Outright Lies and Half-Truths." And I'll give you a quote a sentence from this article, which is actually a letter to the editor. "Perhaps it is time for credible, dispassionate, and objective think tanks and advocacy groups to assume center stage and to help us all navigate the web of truth, half-truths, and outright lies. It appears that voices once strident have slithered curiously into self-imposed oblivion. Let me say that CaPRI has been doing more than its fair share of educating the public and policy makers and giving us the objective truth so that we can understand really what is happening, and that no praise is too high for the work that CaPRI is doing.
Well, let us continue to fund CaPRI.
Yeah. Let me say I am all for helping CaPRI. However, I must plead inability to do so at this time.
All right, okay.
Now, Dr. King, you know, people have from time to time asserted that we have been living beyond our means. But if we were to take out those loss-making enterprise off-budget items, would that be a fair statement that Jamaica has been living beyond its means?
Thank you, Ralph.
No.
Okay.
Thank you, Ralph.
Next question.
All right, number two, last one.
Let me say also that no praise is too high for the bondholders and through their financial intermediaries like Jamaica National, RBTT, and JMB for their participation in the debt exchange. And my question at this point is, what is the extent of the drain on the budget that the Sugar Corporation of Jamaica is contributing?
Amen.
We didn't look at what is the likely draw on the budget from any individual public enterprise. We merely made an extrapolation of the expected draw on the budget based on the average of what had been taking place in the past. So I can't tell you anything about sugar in particular.
Morning. In your analysis of the 8 countries who has had restructured in the past, you willfully or otherwise did not mention their participation rate and the JDX participation rate. Was there a logic behind all of that?
No, what we presented represented not our own analysis of those countries' experience, but our searching of the literature for what people had written about other countries' experiences. And what we're interested in is to find out what was going to be the GDP cost, what was going to be the reputation cost, what was going to be the effect on vulnerability. So to that question, the participation rate was not directly relevant. So I can't make the comparison of participation rates for you. But it certainly wasn't a willful omission. It was more not directly relevant to the question that we are addressing.
You rightfully mentioned that three critical things have to happen around tax reform, cutting of expenditure around rationalization, as well as the third item was
contingent liabilities.
Managing the liabilities effectively to get to growth. But the countries you looked at otherwise, what factors did they pursue to get to that growth path? Because oftentimes, as you recognize, those 3 factors don't necessarily lead to growth, but more lead to just continuation of a balanced budget. And we are all seeking more than just a balance. We actually want to grow. So what other examples or factors did they pursue in their economies, either through private sector or civil society, that led to the results post default, the restructuring?
Well, we are familiar with the factors that are associated with growth over the broad range of countries. I can't speak specifically to the factors that were applied in those 8 countries, some of which have still not returned to growth, to sustain growth. But looking at the broader experience of developing countries and the factors that are associated with growth, you would be surprised at how important a balanced budget is.
Okay. It's necessary, but it's sufficient.
No, it's not sufficient.
So that's where I'm going.
So some of the other elements. Don't want to sort of make discussion here get too broad, but there are other indicators of governance and the importance of high quality institutions of governance that show a high correlation with economic growth. And one can see management of contingent liabilities as merely just one element of an institutional framework of governance and administration that creates a climate of economic growth. That includes, by the way, your central bank and your justice system and so on, and police.
I noticed that your focus is on fiscal sustainability, but this question has to do with the potential of impaired growth, in particular of the financial sector, as a result of the JDX. And I say that against the background of issues coming out of NIF, and 2, a news report this morning that Jamaica national financials may be impaired by the JDX.
Whereas like impaired don't work without sit down. No, we don't throw those words out lightly. I can tell you categorically there's no impairment per se. But like all financial institutions, our revenues have been significantly reduced by the imposition of the JDX, something that we agreed to, like all other financial institutions. And like all other financial institutions, we have to look carefully at how we manage costs. And so the order of the day is greater levels of efficiency as we're going forward. And it's a new world, and we just have to adjust to it. The real sector is going to have to be the springboard, and sector like ours will just have to be, you know, plain vanilla from here on. Damian?
Yeah, that's actually a very clear answer. What the JDX represents really is just a rebalancing of the flows between the government and the private sector. And there's no way it's going to improve the balance sheet and income statement for the government without having a corresponding change on the side of the financial institutions and the rest of the private sector. But one thing I do know is that the effect that the JDX was going to have on the balance sheets in the private sector was not an element of the design that was thought of after the fact. It was recognized from the very beginning and was taken account extremely carefully in the design of the JDX. So whatever effect it has had on the balance sheets in the private sector is a situation that was long anticipated and provided for even before the JDX was conducted. The JDX didn't come as a surprise to anybody.
And I would say necessary too.